feels, then that's not really the way you want to be debuting into your official place within the team.
All right, you know what? Let's see which map we're going to be playing on. Our lobby is ready. Medix is typing that it's Nello's birthday today, but I don't know if that applies still with Navi's current roster. But sure, we'll say happy birthday to Nello.
Happy birthday, Nello.
He's 24, so love congratulations. You, Oregon is our decider for this series. Rogue banning Consulate. Very quickly, how do you see this going now?
I don't know. For me, it's really a question because I've talked to the players of Rogue and they said it's a confidence thing, right? They need to get back into that groove. If they don't, then they're doomed. And if they manage to get some good result out in Scrim, and I know Scrim results don't say anything, however, here it might be what they needed to get some of that confidence back and to actually be able to perform, because what they did last week against Virtus.pro wasn't pretty. They definitely need to show up now. So let's hope they got some confidence, otherwise it's not big.
And if you want a confidence, you got to look at Na'Vi. They're a team that obviously once upon a time were those big title holders, and since then haven't really been able to define who they are. They've been up and down, and maybe it's the weight of expectation, maybe it's the pressure they put on themselves, but here is a chance where they can really start to rebuild to the team that they believe and could very much be who they are.
I can't believe that all this time it was my webcam microphone that was working and not my actual one. So thank you very much. I spent so much money on this to not actually work. So you know what? Let's just talk to our... What?
This is just a side thing there.
Yeah, it just happened. I'm like, you know what? This is frustrating. Technology.
I get it.
I'm a boomer at this point. Let's toss it over, though, to our casters. Gio and Dev, take it away. Rogue versus Navi.
Thank you so much, Milosh. Dev, it is time.
It is a huge match right here. Rogue fighting for survival. No chance of making the major. No chance of making playoffs. Everything on the line for them. And for Na'Vi, they had such a terrible spell. They're finally looking up. They're actually on a streak. They've beat BDS and Vitaly now, looking to make it 3 for 3 and end with a really strong season. But it's going to be a difficult time for them. They're still trying to deal with these roster changes. Fluke mentioned Joe. There's definitely a lot still on the line for both of these teams. And Oregon being the playground for our match tonight is, I think, going to be a curious one. We haven't seen it from Rogue recently, but Na'Vi, they've played it a lot. Opportunity for counter-stratting on both sides. But I think it will come down to, as the analyst was saying, form. These guys have got to be not pulling their punches tonight. It is all about going red hot and playing some serious Siege.
Yeah, this is going to be a big one. And one thing that we did note between ourselves was the fact that this is a map that Rogue haven't come to at all so far in this stage. And yet they played it the most out of any map in the previous stage. Now, Rogue have absolutely everything to lose today. Since picking up a European squad, Rogue have been to the 6th Invitational. They came first in Pro League Season 11 EU, second in the European Open Clash, and first in Stage 1 of EUL. The August Major slipped through their fingers, but they were determined to come back with a vengeance. Instead, they just fell flat on their faces. They lost their star player in Aces, and they had to work with Hosty, a talented player, but not conducive for their redemption. They lost those weeks that could have been spent developing synergy, communication, whatever internal struggles have been holding them back from the major victory. And even since his return, things have looked dire. They donated Chaos their first victory and have not scored more than 4 rounds on any Stage 2 game. If they do not win today, they will have to fight for their right to remain in EUL next year. And even if they do win, their fate is in the hands of other teams. Rogue have gone from being the most exalted and revered European team, heralded as a super team, to seeing their legacy crumble beneath them. And this could be the nail in the coffin.
Absolutely everything on the line here for Rogue, a team who we might not see in the European League in 2021 unless they start kicking into gear right now. That's the ban phase for you guys. Na'Vi are going to get rid of Thatcher and Wamai. Pretty typical bans from them on this map, and bans league-wide that we've seen. It's the exact same bans that Na'Vi banned against M&M on this map in the past. And it's going to mean that wall denial is definitely going to be prevalent. We're likely to see that Maverick picked just about every round, unless maybe a Kali, but I think most teams prefer the Maverick. In terms of that Wamai being banned out, it means that there's a few less shields on the cards and a bit less utility to protect those shields. So I think that's a good ban. As for Rogue, I like getting rid of that Montaigne. Na'Vi have used shields in the past, not a ton, but Kendrew made a real great debut with the shield in the game against G2 in Stage 1, and Rogue have been known to ban Monty on this map against teams like G2, Vitality, and Secret. So I think this is a good ban phase. I don't think it's anything crazy unpredictable. We are playing stock standard Siege right now. That's what these teams want to show. It's about who can land their shots. It's about who can use that util better. It's about who is the better team. And it all comes down to this map.
Something incredibly prevalent about this game as well is the fact that Na'Vi chose to start on defense. Now, it's kind of standard in Siege for most maps to suggest that the defender side does get the advantage, but this is particularly poignant for Na'Vi, who of late have found that they are significantly better on the defense and have struggled terribly on a number of their attacking halves in the games that they've been playing. So if this gives Na'Vi that head start and the advantage that they really need to push early in this map, we could find Rogue falling into the dirt earlier than expected.
That's a fantastic point, Gio. Both of these teams are very emotional, very momentum-based teams. I think that's safe to say. I know you can upset players sometimes when you say that they're a bit emotional. I think it's generally accepted both of these teams rely on those emotions to fuel them, and that means whoever gets that advantage first, they stand tall and are ready to take an advantage and convert that into a map where Na'Vi have the advantage of starting on defense, but they're also have been pretty good on attack recently, particularly on this map, for example, where they found 3 attacks against Team Secret, a team who is very good here on Oregon. So right now, I'm looking at Rogue. They are the ones who have to step up massively right now, and they've started to step into the map. There is a bit of a blue extension here from Na'Vi with the shield and elbow, a player in bunker that saves, and Joe also on the Maestro, ready to peek from inside Electrical. Electrical Hatch should be the first point of contention, and that's Leon to breach it open right now using the Maverick Torch. He does have to be a bit careful not to be vulnerable to C4s. Slow and steady for him, and that'll get the job done. That's only step 1, and Joe, a player who's so aggro on these peaks, Rogue aren't going to give him anything.
Backing off slightly as the stuns come in, but Saves is still going to retain his very aggressive positioning, playing around Harry Potter. That'll hold back any of the attackers who may look to come down, as Hosty is going to. Leon gets throws in his nade. It won't catch anything or anyone, but it's also not caught out by any ADS.
There was an Evil Eye just there somewhere. I'm not quite sure exactly where that was, but that was dispatched with. Let's have a look at the drone game, though, for Rogue. That Mozzie is, yes, present, as is the Mute, but just 4, what? How many drones are left? No drones left! This is unbelievable. There's still a minute to go. The only drone remaining for Rogue is already out in the field, and that's Rips's. Everyone else is all out of info. This is going to be such a desperate push, and there's the first kill for Na'Vi.
Yeah, that brings Hosty down. That means the Rogue are just playing with 3 players now. Leon's on his own as he heads down through Laundry, but those gunshots are going to give away his location very soon. Aces finds himself bleeding out already, and now essentially you just have 2 players coming in from these 2 separate angles. There's the stun, and that's going to allow Corey the opportunity to bring Aces up, but a C4 with a 2K from Blur. He finishes off the round with another kill. And what a great way to settle your dominance early from Na'Vi.
And that right there was an ace on the Na'Vi Mozzie. That is one way to assert your dominance in a game. First round in, you're rocking your team's pilot program skin, or Rev R6 share skin, I should say, on the Mozzie. A 3K with the Roni, and an incredible double C4. And now they're having a go at Rogue for having Tachanka as their skin. This could not get more embarrassing right now for Rogue. That's only 1 round down, but they've got to ignore all of this crap talk that Na'Vi is throwing at them and just get their heads in the game.
I have to be honest, that's one thing that's so funny, is like, if you are going to force Rogue into submission to such an extent, you may as well do it rocking your own skin. You know, like, one way to rub salt into the wound so much more. Definitely a good start from Na'Vi, who have been looking to get their claws into their own potential this stage so far. I don't want to get too ahead of myself. We are only 1 round in, but wow, what a way to do it.
Look across the Rogue scoreboard, 0 kills. That was a flawless round and an ace. Na'Vi not slowing down anytime soon. Saves to throw out a Valkyrie camera onto the water tower outside. So much info you can get from this. And pivotally, if the attackers aren't careful, you can go for a run out onto this balcony, that master balcony right where that leave us sign is. It's certainly not what Saves wants to do. He does a little bit of damage onto Rips, but he takes a lot more than he gives. And Rogue have forced the Valkyrie off.
Now, one of the things that this forces Rogue to do is, as we may be seeing now, is playing either an Asher or Zephyr downstairs to go on the roam clear. And that might not seem too bad. You've got to get rid of those players after all. But the problem is, if you don't have a Zephyr upstairs, whether it be on the big window or coming in through Armory to clear potentially a shield in Trophy or a shield in Dorms, suddenly you have that one fewer player upstairs who can be used to get rid of the utility. There's the impact trick from Joe, and it's going to work, but the second X-Kyro is ready to come in, and both the impacts have been expended.
It's a shame there for Joe, because as we can see on the Rogue side, there is 3 X-Kyros on the Hibana and 3 Selmas on the Ace. So there's just about no way. You would need 6 impact grenades to get rid of that. Joe only has 2, and no one else from Na'Vi carrying them. And Joe, of course, missed the first one. But hey, Leon doesn't miss Joe, peeking up through the floor, and that shuts down that Maestro player very early.
And it's nice to see Rogue get the opening kill. It wasn't something that they secured last time, and they found themselves in a very early disadvantage before. But if we have a look at the HTUD, there still is that slight problem of losing drones fairly quickly. And you also have to bear in mind that there's going to be pests out and about as well that could pose a problem to Rogue. Nonetheless, all right, I was going to say nonetheless, they still stand. No, Leon Gids doesn't. Save secures the next kill, and there's going to be another one. Can he collect the third? Not quite. Rips ensures that goes into his pocket, but once again, a 3 versus 3. The Rogue find themselves in with less than a minute remaining.
Low numbers and low info. Ace is the only one with a drone still available to be moved. There are a couple drones still out in the field, but pretty much ineffective now for Rogue. They're just flank watch if Rogue is lucky. At worst, they're facing a wall somewhere. And that pick goes against Corey. Doki with that beautiful shot. Aces, the man of the hour. He has to step up massively, but Kendrew shuts him down with the FMG. Na'Vi in complete control of their defense on Oregon.
Na'Vi look like they're having fun. And I think I would be too if I were them. They're doing actually pretty well. A lot of the story for Na'Vi so far this stage has been about taming the dragon that is themselves. They brought on Blur and Joe, Nello no longer part of the squad. They had this real untapped aggression. What they had to do was put the chains on that and use it to their best advantage. They switched Joe over to a more support role. They put Doki back on, the Ash Jaeger job, the entry job where he was more comfortable, and they've managed to find their flow since then. At least that's what it feels like. After a crushing defeat to Team Empire, they came back and beat BDS, and they have been on a roll since then. And just looking at how they've played so far in these first 2 rounds, they look comfortable. They look like they're enjoying themselves. They don't have to worry in the same way that Rogue does.
That's it, isn't it? Rogue, they're not really fighting for anything in terms of good things that can happen to them. You know, they can't get into the major. They've lost that chance. There's no way they can get enough points to qualify. They can't get into the Pro League, the EUL finals, I should say, at the end of the year. They don't have enough points for that. But the only thing left to fight for is their spot in EUL. If they win this map, they do their best to try and keep their spot. It's not guaranteed. They still have to hope that some other teams don't get points. But, I mean, this is the last little piece of the puzzle that Rogue has that they have control over. They need to win here, and Na'Vi's not letting him in. Saves with some aggressive Black Eye Valkyrie cameras outside. He wants to get aggressive here. He's pre-opened this double door of dorms. As we look to the Rogue attack lineup, they've actually brought 3 hard breaches. In fact, we've seen all 4 of the hard breaches at various points on this map thus far from Rogue, and Aces to 6-pick onto that Thermite. Interestingly, it does look like Rogue are preparing for a meeting side take. Now, they actually have plenty of hard breach to spare that they could potentially breach the showers wall, the meeting wall into kitchen, and the small tower wall into dining as well. They could basically mince up the entire objective, but they'll need to dispatch with these electric claws.
Yeah, they also know that the hatch upstairs in kids is a particularly important one, but none of the defenders are up there any longer, and instead Leon gets early control as well as an early pick. Joe going straight down. There's your Maestro off the board. He was the last one to go down before, but Leon can't quite get the second. A great C4 from Kendrew ensures that Na'Vi still stay in, but they don't have the man advantage at this point.
Neither do Na'Vi have the map control that would be ideal for them either. They basically forfeited Kid Storm's upstairs. Saves keeps to checking that drone. No one was on it. No one knows he is flanked. They 6-picked off the Nomad. That drone saw him though. Saves going to take out both and then rotate upstairs. It's just him, Blur, and Doki now. Na'Vi turning up the aggression. The meeting wall has been breached and Saves finds another kill. 3 kills so far in the map. And this is a 3 versus 3. Blur turns the tides once again. Just Corey and the new blood of Hosty to hold down this game or this round for Rogue.
Now, Corey's just trying to essentially flank watch at this point to protect his teammate, but so far won't be seeing anybody from Na'Vi. Saves is still upstairs though, and that's something that they should potentially be concerned about. Here's one at the bottom of the stairs. That's Blur. He's gone. This could now be the start of things for Rogue as they bring it to a 2 versus 2, but eventually they'll have to jump down. The fuser has been lost, and that's got to be collected by Corey, but Doki wasn't too far away before. He starts to get some sight into the site, but there you go, the Valkyrie and the smoke, both by the meeting stairs, or the tower stairs. Doki gets the kill, and now it's all onto Hosty. He has barely any life left. He jumps down into the site. He doesn't know where these players are. He knows that there's one nearby. He tries to take a shoot down the meeting hall, but he can't quite see Saves. He's just pre-firing at this point. There's a smoke. That's going to hold him back. He's just got to go in for the plant. There's not much time left. Only 2 seconds. He decides he's not going to go for it. Na'Vi complete a full cycle.
XD coming out in the chat. Na'Vi have absolutely no respect right now. I don't know how much of this they can get away with, to be honest. Like, they're kind of teetering along that very blurred line. How much crap can we talk in chat and still be permitted
British
by the admins?
There's no such thing as too much.
I do love it. I do love it. It's a bit of a mental game, isn't it? Na'Vi is certainly winning right now, not just on the scoreboard, but they're winning. And look at that. The 2 star players for Rogue who were meant to be stepping up, the 2 guys that we have been talking so much about, Aces and Hosty, sitting on those donuts at the moment. It was Hosty to lose in that 1v2 at the end there. I will credit Na'Vi a lot of really good decision-making and teamwork in the late round in particular, and enabled them to come back from 4v5 to the last 2 rounds in a row. In fact, that particular round there was a 3 versus 4, eventually a 2 versus 2 that they managed to win without losing another player. In particular, that Evil Eye on that kitchen bomb site looking directly at that meeting thermite breach, that was so pivotal there. It basically meant there was no chance for Rogue to plant because Na'Vi would have had full information. And, well, if Rogue tried to plant in a 2v2, well, they've got 1 player planting. It's a 2v1, really, for Na'Vi. And, well, Na'Vi perfectly dealt with that situation. As they are dealing well with the drones, it's a common theme here for Rogue. We're talking constantly about it. And while the mute has been foregone this round, we have the Vigil, which, while it doesn't destroy any drones or prevent any drones, it does kind of nullify their impact.
I want to mention a player who you brought up, and that's Hosty. Although, first of all, I just want to note Na'Vi holding very aggressively here. Aces, he's going to send out the air jab, but Na'Vi could find that they can deal with that pretty easily if there's someone who pushes up far enough. Leon will get the first kill, though. That's on to Kendrew. He's been doing decent work so far, and with your Vigil gone, that means that the risk of not being able to drone out that player is no longer there. In go the flashes, but there's still 2 players watching straight out onto where Aces is. Saves is just trying to get the angle through, and there's Doki to complete the job. Well, what I was going to say is the fact that Hosty has a lot of pressure on himself because he's filling in for Karjeka, a really famous player at this point from EU, formerly of Team Empire, but hasn't been showing up well, and Hosty's not going to in this round either as Blur gets the kill onto him.
One of these angle fights always going the direction of Na'Vi. They're so keen to peek these angles. We've talked about the drone economy here a lot for Rogue. Only 3 left on these alive players, but Leon has the Yana. I think that was the decision to bring this instead of that Zofia and the Maverick that we've seen in the past. A bit more information gathering that Leon can bring to the table for his team. Save still in that typical position that we've seen so many players before. He moves out of Boiler and into Harry Potter, but those X-Kairos to be deployed on the wall were dispatched with, thanks to Joe on the bomb site, simply shooting them off. And now Rogue, in this 3 versus 4, have a lot to do. Rips is going to try and smoke it off so that the Selma can detonate, but unbeknownst to him, the player in Boiler has actually rotated to Harry Potter, and Joe can impact trick that Selma anyway.
Na'Vi just in a great situation here as Saves is going to clean up with Leon as well. This leaves just Corey and Rips. They're still holding on to the diffuser, which is something, but they haven't been able to successfully clear out Na'Vi. That's why those X-Tyros could be dealt with like they were. Corey tries to get in the shot. He finally finishes up Doki. That's a good start. Saves going down as well. This could actually go in the direction of Rogue. Just Corey remains. He has to go up against Joe. He's got more health than him, but he doesn't have any drones. He's just got to start sneaking around. He's crouching, but Joe is ready. There's the kill! And there's Rogue's first round in this series.
Joe and Corey in the 1v1, and Corey wins those. A 3K for the Hibana. This is the player who used to boast as entry for Rogue. He was sidelined. He had some of the worst stats of any of the Rogue players throughout Stage 2. And the guys on the team were like, look, mate, you go sit on the support. You sit on the backline. You drone for us. We're going to have Leon. We're going to have Hosty even in these more aggressive positions. It was kind of Hosty who stole Corey's role since they got rid of Karjeka. Corey trying to move into that more passive position that Karjeka used to be in. But give the man a chance to enter the building and he's going to deal some damage. That was a huge 3K clutch.
Yeah, actually, just looking up the statistics from Pro League Season 11, which Rogue, of course, won, Corey had the best entry stats at plus 12. He went 29 and 17, which is disgusting. And, of course, securing a multi-kill like he did in that round, was it a 3K or a 4K? Is it 3K?
I know there was 3, there may have been more.
It was a win K because it won them the round. Regardless, I know it's not the same as just a straight up KD, which he actually did go negative on in Season 11, but the point still stands. This is a man who knows how to shoot and he knows how to take those engagements, and it's great to see that work for Rogue, especially in such a pivotal game as this.
Especially since Corey so far in Stage 2 of the EUL has actually performed very poorly in entry. And keep in mind, a lot of this is still when he was in more of an entry position. So that's kind of his forte. He's meant to be finding opening engagements. He was at a 0.5 opening KD ratio, which is fairly low. Albeit not actually the lowest on the team, Leon actually has been really struggling in his opening engagements overall, despite having the lion's share of those engagements for his team. And it's something that I've definitely critiqued Leon for in the past, but with a clutch like that, I'm hoping that Rogue as a whole have a little bit more confidence because they know that they have the gun skill. They've just got to have the confidence to take these fights. Early in the round, previously, Na'Vi found 2 opening engagements just on these narrow angles, and that shouldn't be going that direction. Rogue should be able to punish them.
And look at this, a slight role swap as well from Rogue, who've put Aces back on Ashe, taken Hosty off of it. And there's no Nomad this time, but Hosty's going to be playing Zafir instead. So they've shifted things around slightly. First, Gemini does get dispatched with by Saves, who once again is playing down in Pillar. Na'Vi a bit further away, or further back as they were playing before. Joe, if you remember correctly, was pushed very close up to E-Box, and that's how he managed to get the X-Skyros. But this time, Corey's still playing from construction, and he puts the Ascaris onto the wall from outside the site.
Good breach here from Corey, denying those electrical positions, but still in Boiler is Saves, taking out these drones from Hosty. You mentioned Hosty, you mentioned Aces, the only players on Rogue yet to find a kill this game. They're the 2 entries as well. Hosty peeking down these rear stairs, taking an angle fight. Corey takes a lot of damage. Blur, he's still peeking this. And there's a player aggressive in blue as well. Na'Vi, they're not slowing down. I don't think Corey knows that Saves is here. Is that Aces on the other side? Saves is so close to finding this. He dodges the flashbang. This could be his kill.
Yeah, you can see that he's just getting ready to move in, and as soon as that character model can be seen, that's when he'll get shot. But no, Aces knows where he is. He takes in the shots as the ping comes out, and Saves is going to take a lot of damage, but not quite be killed for it. But Blur, he finishes off Hosty in the meantime, and Leon gets bleeding out. There's the kill onto Saves finally, and that allows Aces to move forward, but he actually backs out. Na'Vi is still holding on to control of the site, and there's less than 30 seconds remaining.
This is going to have to be a last-minute execute, but Na'Vi have their guns up and are ready to receive. Still elbow control for Doki. Rips once again. Yet another player loses their life on those rear stairs to Joe. Na'Vi, they turn that thing around and they make it their own. It was just a blip on the radar, that one defense that they lost, and now they're back into form with 4 defense wins on their half.
Rogue were really struggling with the way that Na'Vi were holding the open wall, the one opposite tower stairs. Is there a specific name for that wall? I just call it
the
wall.
that entire area, like all of that pillar kind of near Harry Potter, the compass call out is boiler room. I would typically call pillar, the area around the pillar, I would call that pillar. The area under the stairs, I would call Harry Potter. And then but that little kind of nook where the Jaeger often plays.
The specific soft wall that was
the
open.
Single wall? Oh,
the single wall that directly faces the staircase. Na'Vi have been leaving that open the whole time, and that's why Joe was in a position to get those kills when Rogue sent down those 2 players. And it's not just happened in that last round. It's happened in a number of the rounds. There are some teams who like to reinforce it off, some teams like to leave it open, some teams will play a mirror window there. When you leave it open and you have someone like Joe at the bottom, you peek down those stairs as Rogue just did. I'm sorry, but you're going into the dirt.
In fact, 3 players lost their lives there on those stairs. Joe found 2, Blair found the first one. In fact, it was onto Hosty. And Hosty, the only player left thanks to Aces finding 1 kill that round. Hosty is 0-4 right now. Keep in mind, he's really 0-5 because the only round where he hasn't died so far was that 1v2 clutch where the timer ran out because he couldn't get the diffuser down. Effectively, the TLDR of this is Rogue's entries are really struggling, and I think it's because Na'Vi have just been so eagerly peeking things and also landing their shots. Credit to Na'Vi for not only good aim and good, I guess, game sense to know when to peek, but also the fact that they've clearly just ruined the mentality, the mental game here of Rogue. I talked about both these teams are very emotional. Well, being an emotional team is a double-edged sword. On the one hand, it can be really good for you when you're feeling positively emotional, when you're like, yeah, we can do anything right now. And that's how Na'Vi feel right now. On the flip side of that coin, being an emotional team sucks when you're down in the dumps and you're like doing the blame game and all that kind of rubbish. That's where Rogue are right now.
I think one of the big things that comes into where Rogue's headspace could be right now is the fact they know they don't have another chance after this. Even if they are to win this game, that's no guarantee they stay in. Their fate is then in other teams' hands. You are not in control of what it is you can achieve. You're a team who has only known success while you've existed in Europe, and you are not in control as to whether or not you can stay in this league. That can crumble the wrong person, but they go off to a good start. Hosty opens things up with a kill onto Blur, who has been a pretty pivotal player as far as acquiring kills goes.
And that's a concrete wall broken down now for Hosty as well. He hadn't found a kill the whole game. That suddenly burst. Oh, the impact trick's a bit weird there. There's a single vertical line. That's a very awkward one to peek on both sides, but definitely the entrance denied, which is what's pivotal there. So good job from Joe. I know he's struggled in the past with that impact trick, but he gets it where it matters though. He only has, actually has none left, and Rogue, they've actually ditched the, they've still got the ace and they've still got 1 Selma left. so they could destroy that. There's a nice explosion, but it doesn't actually get any deployable shields. Navi's still in control here. Yeah, he's still got tons of health left. I think that Na'Vi here is still in the advantage, despite that 4v5. It doesn't look like Rogue have a really good point of ingress.
That's what they're definitely struggling to acquire. Hosty's trying to get an angle round through into games, but he actually takes some damage for the efforts as well. There's a kill onto Says, but one back onto Rips too, as Joe desperately tries to get what he can, but he's down to just 1 HP, and I was going to say that him not being dislodged will pose a huge problem for Rogue. This is a potential crossfire from Attic as well, but actually, no, Hosty does go down. Looked like he could have got the 2k there, but Kendrew's going to be cleaning up in return. Now it's Doki versus 2 players of Rogue, Leon and Aces. They're both full health. Doki can't survive it out. Rogue take their second round and they head on over to their own defense.
A big round there for Rogue to step up and take it. An important one, a very pivotal one. Hosty finding 2 in that round. And I know I feel like I'm talking a lot about these fraggers. I think Leon's he's like, oh, I'm not gonna pull my punches. You mentioned it being quite a British thing to, get some smack talk in there. And of course, Leon is the...
I'm sure you understand.
Oh yeah, for sure. Especially when it comes to the Brit versus Australian rivalry. That's one that we like to get behind.
Very true. For every other time, it's a joint culture.
Exactly. Yeah. No, when it's cricket or something like that, we're going to be at each other's throats. What I was going to say is, yes, I've been talking a lot about these fraggers from Rogue and their performance. I was very critical of Hosty and Aces because they've been the players in question. Like, both of those players are effectively replacing Karzeka. Of course, Hosty the immediate replacement, but at one point, Hosty was on the roster and Aces was not because he was serving his suspension, and we had Karzeka. Now, that was a roster that did not perform well. The roster with Karzeka and Aces, which this team only played 1 match, that also did not perform well. And while overall we've seen Rogue really struggle this game, keep in mind one of the rounds that they've won thus far was basically Corey just finding a 3k and a 1v2 clutch, which probably shouldn't have happened. Rogue have kind of done par for the course here. 2 attacks here on Oregon, that's pretty good. That said, while you have pointed out that Na'Vi have struggled with their attacks in the past, I would point out that they won 3 attacks against Secret recently. And if they can do the same here against Rogue, which I think is a weaker team than Secret, then Na'Vi should be able to take this.
Well, I would point out that regardless of what happens at this point, Rogue cannot meet the same results that they got against Na'Vi in Stage 1. They 7-1'd Na'Vi. And you can argue it's 2 different teams. They've had roster changes, but it also feels like 2 different teams from the perspective of the fact that they are not playing like they were. And yeah, you could argue that a 4-2 split at the half, given the size that they started on, is actually pretty normal. And so you don't want to discount Rogue too much, but I think it's natural to be concerned for them, and they're going to have to prove it as this next half comes into play.
Na'Vi on their attack are known for these explosive pushes in the late round. Like that nade coming through to clear off the Electroclaw, it's successful. And that means that Kendrew won't have to waste the entire 2.5 canisters of the Maverick Torch. He can just get Doka to breach it. There's an air jab triggered. Whereabouts was that? Was that an attempted flank, perhaps up the rear stairs? Maybe it was Aces. Maybe he knew it was clear and he was just triggering it to enable a later flank. But thus far, Rogue have full control of blue, and Aces just checking it. Oh, wait a second. Joe, I thought he was going to get caught off guard, but no, he doesn't. And it looks like in the late round here, Na'Vi are just going to forego blue completely. A risky take, unless if they decide to rotate this late in the round, but I expect this is going to be a front and freezer push, judging by that breach in the early round.
Well, the fact that Hosty did move out of freezer could give Na'Vi some space to actually take through here. There's the first kill. Leon gets taken down. The mirror and the C4 that she carries no longer on the board. Doki will follow up onto Aces as well. This is going to begin to get aggressive as Hosty is desperately just trying to hold the angle here onto the back of the site just in case anyone comes down the laundry stairs. Corey getting ready with a C4, but decides better of it as he's once again taken control of freezer. Rips backs off as he sees another player from Na'Vi head into construction.
40 seconds left. That's such a good kill. Is there a refrag? No, Hosty doesn't overpeak it. Corey holds down the fort. in Freezer, but it's just him left. Shut down. Na'Vi start off their attacking half by doing an incredible round here and taking that bottom floor defense.
Ooh, things are looking good for Na'Vi, and they're looking scary for Rogue.
This is just such a terrifying position to be in for Rogue right now.
I would be terrified because, you know, Na'Vi take this next round, they're on match point. Given that it's a best of one, you could argue that within the context of a best of one, you would have to reverse sweep this as Rogue to be able to get it, because you would have to catch up all of those rounds that you are now behind on. And we've seen it happen. It was something that, was it Cloud9 who did that very effectively recently? Yeah. Only true APAC fans will remember. We've seen it happen, but given all the performance from Rogue of late, I'm not filled to the brim with confidence that it could. Now, of course, they could start to catch up here, and Na'Vi stay on five rounds for just a little bit of time. But we have to be realistic.
And can I just point out here that Rogue will have to win every round from now if they are to take the victory. And if they don't take the victory, if they only draw right now, they will end on 20 points. In 9th place, locked in. Because Secret and Vitality just above them are already on 21 points. Rogue cannot afford to draw. A draw for Rogue will not affect their standings whatsoever. That will lock them in 9th place.
That is a very good point. Rogue have to win this game. And as I mentioned,
every round.
Yeah, as I mentioned before, that doesn't even guarantee anything. You then have to wait to see how the other teams do and if it works out in your favor. So, yeah, this is like staring into the cavernous pit right after someone said you're probably going to have to jump down there. Not a good feeling.
Rogue haven't found a single point throughout all of Stage 2. They were first place in Stage 1 with 19 points. After back-to-back Pro League championships in Europe, and now this is their last chance to find even 1 point in EUL Stage 2, and they haven't found it yet. Na'Vi, on the flip side, they are fighting for playoffs. They are currently 4th overall in 2020 for EUL, and that, if they can retain that 4th place, that will qualify them for the EUL. They've also got a serious shot in for the EUL, or I should say the November Major. There is so much riding on it for Na'Vi right now, but so much more to risk for Rogue.
Oh, Rips nearly gets the shot, but that player's actually going to move further into Closet as Blur takes a hefty amount of damage trying to shoot in through Attic. He's with Kendrew as they attempt to Maverick trick open the wall. It looks like there's some players from Rogue who are ready to meet them. Leon gets downstairs. We've seen Rogue do this before, always ensure that they have a player downstairs. We've seen Leon do it on Goyo, but this time he's on Smoke. Still, all 10 men do remain standing, although as I say that, Rips gets taken down. This is the first domino to go down as Rogue will start to see their hopes dwindle.
Flank.
Leon has to move upstairs, he gets a kill, and he will return back down. It's Aces instead who's going to be coming up for yet another flank, knowing that the members of Na'Vi will be pushing in.
Leon's going all the way to small tower. This is so desperate. You can just feel the desperation right now from Rogue, and it's all spiraling against them. 3 players left, 1 off site. Leon has to get this kill, but he's got to make noise first. Does Kendrew hear it? Leon, you've got to jump out. You've got to do it now. Hosty to hold down the fort on site, but it's too late now for Leon. Kendrew's in the building, and everyone's holding it down. It's a 1v2 for Na'Vi.
It's all on Blur. If he can get these 2 kills, then they will kick Rogue into relegations. He does not have much health on the board, and how much info he has might be limited. He still has a drone in pocket, but less than 15 seconds remain. He throws it out, but he's going to hold the angle for now, waiting for the gases to subside as he doesn't have enough health to survive it should he push through. 2 seconds to go, and it looks like there's still going to be one more chance for Rogue to hold themselves in.
But what a close round it was. Na'Vi were millimeters away from taking that round and ending this map right here and now. Rogue keep their heads above the water for just one more round. They have to make the full sweep here. 4 more rounds to go to get that victory. A draw will not be enough.
I think the fact that Hosty got that 2k really saved Rogue in that last round. Of course, it wasn't the only kills that came out, but the fact it came out in quick succession, it put Kendra in such a vulnerable position, despite the fact that he didn't get caught out by Leon, as Leon originally intended. Suddenly, the anxiety probably reduced somewhat for Rogue after that. However, the holistic anxiety about this game overall is still going to be there. And once again, you have this fear where you are returning to another site. You don't know how it's going to go. There's still question marks. And usually that's more of a prevalent feeling for the attackers who have to figure out how they're going to approach the attack on yet another site that they've not visited before. But I would argue in this case, it's still a notable issue for Rogue because this is unknown territory. They don't know how Na'Vi are going to approach it. They don't know if this could be the final chop of the guillotine.
For Rogue, I wonder, what is this decision to go to kitchen and dining? Is this desperation? They don't have confidence in their laundry defense after losing on their first try, that they don't want to revisit it? Or is this confidence that they have what it takes on this bomb site? They know they can throw Na'Vi off guard, but well, Na'Vi haven't wasted any time mounting up around small tower. The first point of ingress is showers. As always, Leon is still reinforcing. He might not have time to impact trick, and the first kill, a spray through the wall. The impact trick fails. Rogue caught with their pants down.
Miserable there for Aces. He won't be able to regenerate any goo mines, and Leon's going to try and see what he can get, but actually he backs out. He reinforces off showers. That means that regardless of whether Na'Vi take control of it, it doesn't actually mean anything. So those Kairos have been expended and now tactically wasted by Rogue.
That said, controlling showers or even just denying that control from the defenders is huge. The less places that are safe for the defenders, well, the more difficult this gets for them, especially on the retake. Numbers advantage as well for Na'Vi. So much time left. Kendrew droning out the site. A breach already open on the small tower wall into dining. But what was the nail in the coffin last time Na'Vi went for their final push? It was this smoke rips. Last time it was Leon playing the smoke rips. Now the man to try and stay alive as long as possible in kitchen. Is Na'Vi just gonna push from this one direction? Leon down by the nade? And I don't think he can get rest here. Hosty could go for it, but it's so risky.
Oh, that could be completely lost. Corey's actually going to go for it, but there's the Selva on the wall. Leon's going to be super vulnerable. He manages to back off, but this could be where Doki can get this kill, and he does. Things looking dire for Rogue as they enter into the final minute, or the... Well, yeah, Hosty gets a kill. Kendrick's going to go in for the plant. He decides that it's just a bait. He backs on out. Hosty secures the next kill, but he will fall. Now there's just two players of Rogue remaining. Corey! He loses his life. It's all on Rips. 3 players of Na'Vi going up against him, and he doesn't entirely know where they are. They could hold all these angles, and Na'Vi push Rogue into relegations.
What a round to close out Rogue's chances. The game's not over yet, folks. Na'Vi still have something to fight for, but Rogue absolutely do not. Hosty tried to claw it back with 2 kills, bringing that 5v3 to a 3v3, but Na'Vi didn't lose a single player after that. A 6-3 scoreline in favor of Na'Vi, winning 2 out of their 3 attacks thus far. Everything is going their way. It's not even Joe and Saves who are stepping up in the fragging department. Blur and Doki, players we don't always talk about, they have stepped up hugely here. And now Na'Vi only need 1 more round to rocket themselves up the standings. They'll be on 26 points in the 2020 standings. If they win this, they'll be tied for points with Virtus Pro. And that'll basically lock them in for that major. Sorry, not for the major, for the EUL finals, I should say.
Yeah, as you mentioned before, Na'Vi currently sitting in 4th place. And it's funny because this is a team that's had so many ups and downs. You think back to the end of stage 1, they lost out their spot in the major on essentially a technicality. It went to Virtus Pro instead. It was a devastating moment for Na'Vi. Then you come into the second stage. You've lost players that you've played with for so long. I'm thinking Nello. You've got to learn everything again. Things aren't meshing how you hoped they would, despite the fact that the individual skill of your new players is exceptional. Things looked scary for Na'Vi. It looked uncertain, but they pulled themselves back in. They fixed it all, and now Corey can't get the electrical back.
And this is just one tiny example of how a single role change can ruin or just really make other players on a team struggle. Remember, Corey used to be on an entry. Hosty's kind of taken his role. Corey's forced to fill Karzeka's positions, and now he just spent an extra 30 seconds trying to electrify this hatch. It still didn't get done, but it's far too late to worry about it now because Leon's down and out, and Na'Vi have found that first kill.
At this point, Rogue know it's over. Hosty does respond with a kill onto Kendrew, so that's nice, evening things out. The blowtorch and those nades are no longer there, but as a nice ganging up, Blur gets the kill onto Hosty, and Doki's just pinging out the freezer hatch so that they know it's electrified as he wants to get it open with the X-Kairos. Aces peeking out at the bottom just to see if anyone comes down the tower stairs. Of course, there looks like there is a player on Na'Vi who's ready to do that, but he's also got saves at the bottom of the laundry stairs.
Switched off the Ash. I think it's for this 2x sight that we see him boasting on the M762. Very powerful rifle. Rogue need to step it up now. Rips waiting to hold out this push. Still gas canisters to boast. Rogue holding on. It's Corey to hold down the fort. In Freezer, a player who we've seen so much from this game, but still it hasn't been enough for Rogue. A 4 versus 3 for Na'Vi, shaping up 2 players on the bottom of Laundry Stairs. Aces does have this shield he can try to play off in the hallway, but it's not ideal for the situation. Joe here on the rear stairs, he could push down late.
He's still playing very patiently because he knows the attention's elsewhere, but there's 2 kills coming in from Rogue. Suddenly the tides are starting to switch. Joe gets a kill for himself. Ace is now down. And there's an ADS dispatched with as well. Saves playing patiently, but the diffuser has been dropped. Na'Vi could just go in for the kills. Joe placing the air jab, but they've got to be prepared for this player in Freezer stairs, but it'll be Rips who catches him out instead. Saves. He gets the kill onto Corey, and now it's just him versus Rips. He goes for the diffuser after having picked it back up, and he's very weak at this point. But Rips doesn't know where he is. He's trying to look for him. He tried to get the shot through the wall. There was the bait, as you mentioned. Saves, gets himself off the diffuser, and now with 10 seconds left, he's just going to be creeping out and going hunting. No! He catches Rips in the back, and Na'Vi secure their victory finally over a dying Rogue. The ex-victors of Pro League now find themselves in the very, very bottom.
Na'Vi stand out victorious. Some words of commiseration in the team chat there, as you can see. But Na'Vi, while this is definitely a significant moment for Rogue, this is also a moment that Na'Vi deserve to be proud of. They have locked themselves in the top 4 of the EU League finals for 2020, the inaugural finals here. And they have so much to be proud of after such a fantastic showcase with their new roster.
Just a perfect way to end the redemption arc that Na'Vi have been looking for since Tokoname, but the exact opposite sentiment here for Rogue, who once were on top of the world and now find themselves looking up at it from afar. Analysts, that was an absolutely wild game. I'm sweating. I was shaking throughout it. I want to know what you think and what this means for the future of professional Rainbow Six here in Europe.
So many loaded questions, Gio, but yes,